Hello, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural edition of Purpose Amplified. I am your host, Anh Nguyen, and I'm so excited to launch a show. And I'm even more thrilled to have the guest that I have on today, LaGina R. Harris. Just a little history for those of you who may not have caught my post about why I'm launching this show. For a while now, I have been feeling a little unfulfilled, right? Like, what's the purpose and what kind of impact can I leave on this world doing what I do as a marketer? Sure, it's great to help my clients and my own business make money. Don't get me wrong. We all need money, right? Money makes the world go round and money pays our bills, and money allows us to make the impact that we want to make. But I've long sat down and thought about what and how I can make this impact, because I shared a little bit of my family's history with you. We were refugees from the Vietnam War. And again, that opportunity that I have had and still have here in the United States has long weighed on me. What I have been brought here for a purpose, and what is that purpose? And I'm still trying to figure that out. But in the meantime, I would love to help you all get to know more about individuals, ventures, and organizations who have a purpose, who are purpose driven, who are looking to make an impact on both their local communities and the global community as a whole. And today's guest, as I mentioned, is a really good friend now, LaGina R. Harris. And I'm going to share with you in a little bit when I bring her on how we met and why I think she is just amazing, right? So before I bring her on the screen, we'll share just a little bit about her, because there's so many good things about LaGina that I could spend the whole show sharing her bio. But so LaGina is the founder of the S Space, which are intentional innovation spaces for women of color, women-led businesses, and women-centric organizations to thrive. And as an entrepreneur, she focuses on social impact. She's out there challenging social norms, amplifying women, and bringing positive change to her community through her brand, Laray Infinity. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And if you connect with LaGina on LinkedIn, you'll see that she says she calls herself a social disruptor. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. And so here we go, Ms. LaGina R. Harris.
Hello.
Welcome, my friend.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Excited to be here. Thank you for picking me to go first.
Oh my gosh, it was a no-brainer, right? And then also, this is a little different for you, right? Because you're usually on the other side of the mic. You are a host and a
Yeah.
moderator, and extraordinaire, by the way, I need to mention, because so you're making me a little nervous being a host today because I've got a very high bar to live up to. And so I'm super excited. I know I've mentioned it several times. I'm both thrilled and honored to have you as a guest here. And so welcome. And for those of you tuning in, please say hello, share where you're coming in from, any questions, or comments that you have as we're, conversing today. And one really quick thing before we get started, I'm going to share a little bit how I met LaGina. Where were we in a session, I think, at Impact Hub Houston, and it literally was like, hey girl, hey, what you doing? I'm LaGina. Hey. I was like, who is this woman? And so I met LaGina, and just from that one conversation, I was like, I got to figure out how to collaborate with LaGina and figure out how to, become friends with her. So I kind of social stalked you for a little bit, by the way.
Oh, I have nothing. No, I appreciate that. I remember when we met because the energy in the room was just so positive, and everybody, we were like dropping links, and we're like, what's your email? Like, we did emails before numbers because we were sending so many links and resources to each other. So it was super fun. It was super fun.
Yes, and I think Kismet too, right? And shout out to Impact Hub Houston. I'm going to drop a link for how you guys can learn more about them. Hey, Amy, my friend Amy is tuning in from the Dallas area. Thanks for joining.
D-Town, what up?
So LaGina, you were in Austin for a while, which is my old stomping grounds, and I know you knew that. And part of my social stalking you I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you had been in the hospitality industry and you were at Oil Can Harry's. I was like, oh my God, that brings back such memories of when I was there in my
Oh,
20s, hanging out with my friends and going to Oil Can Harry's. It was so fun.
wow. Yeah, okay, you did look me up. So, Um, I moved to Austin right after undergrad, and I was actually the director of a Boys and Girls Club for a little while. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to go get my master's degree. And I pursued my master's degree while working in higher ed. And that whole time, Boys and Girls Club higher ed, I worked at OCH. I did. I was the unicorn because that bar was opened up for white males, gay white males. And by the time I left there, I mean, all the others had invaded the place. It was all the drag queens. I was a manager, black, hetero, female, all these things. So we had some heydays there, and I'm still really good friends with all the guys that like I connected with while I was there for sure.
Well, it was an inclusive space, by the time because my friends and I did not feel out of place hanging out with the LGBTQ community back then. And so I thought I saw it and I was like, I've got to bring it up because such fun memories of when I was younger, right? So share with me a little bit about, you were in Austin and you're pursuing your master's and you shared on the Us Space website, which I'm going to drop the link here in a minute, as well, about how you were starting your own venture and your startup, and you're having a really rough time
Hmm.
finding that support and that space for women who are entrepreneurs, women who are, starting their own ventures, social entrepreneurs. So I'd love for you to share with the audience a little more about the genesis and the vision for the Us Space.
Yeah, so I was in Austin and I was doing a lot of things. So not only was I doing the things I just talked about, but I was doing a double course load pursuing my master's degree, and I was volunteering a lot. I was coaching a softball team and I was exhausted. And somewhere in between there, I started doing fine art on canvas, like abstract. I've always been a creative, but I watched Bob Ross one day and I was like, I want to do a tree. And I ordered a whole bunch of stuff. And then I was like, I can go beyond trees. But one thing that just really rang true to me is there were all these boxes that I was supposed to be in, and I didn't actually fit in any of them because I was in so many different categories of human, including being like a military brat and a middle child and all these things. And so before I knew it, I was creating the us space without even knowing I was doing it. I worked at the Fairmont opening team right before I moved to Houston. I worked at the Greater Austin Black Chamber of Commerce for a little while. Like I did a lot of things in this young body. So when I moved to Houston, I was just like, there needs to be something for all of us. And even the other day, I was talking to other women of color, and even just entering in rooms sometimes can be very stressful. And I just wanted to make sure that I had a community selfishly that reflected like the vibe of who I wanted that to be, like showing up as you are, getting tough love, but actual love, showing up in a real way and not just the way of like, yeah, we're community, but what does that community look like when it's personified into physical and emotional and then a digital space? So after all of this and me not realizing that it was going to be the us space, that's how I formed the us space eventually.
I love that, right? Because that's how so many ventures actually start, because there's a need that has to be filled. There's a void that has to be filled that that the founders found that, okay, if I can't find a place for myself or my venture, if I can't check a box somewhere and fit in somewhere, I'm going to create that damn table myself, right? Which is
Yes.
what you did with the S space.
Yeah.
So I love that. And when I hear founders, stories about founders like yourself, that's often what I find is that there was a void, there was a need, and nobody else could fill it. So I'm going to create it myself. And I love that.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, absolutely. So what, you mentioned that you created the S space unintentionally, but it is meant to be an intentional and innovative space for women led businesses and women centric organizations.
Mhm.
So share what's the big purpose you have now for the S space, and what's the legacy that you would like to leave behind?
Ooh, that's a really good question. When I started, I think one of the best things I did, particularly with the S space, is make sure I had mentors and not a lot of yes people. Like I have yes people, don't get me wrong, but my yes people probably don't look like just yes. They're like yes, but what is that? Like why? And so I made sure I did a lot of customer discovery. And so the challenge that I was solving for myself ended up being a challenge that a lot of women need, a lot of women of color need. And then that little nichification of like women centric organizations that always gets looked over, which are highly underfunded, highly under resourced, and not in the resource way like, here's a piece of paper, but like big players on their boards that can just get them the funding they need to do whatever it is. So creating that solution ended up being for a lot of people. So when I decided to name the us space, it was because I wanted it to be an acronym and a play on words because it goes back to that box checking. It's obvious I'm black, right? And us, people are like, oh, us. And I'm like, yeah, but the acronym stands for unapologetic self-starter. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of women and women of color that are solving all of these challenges in the world are. And what they need is real actionable support. And it doesn't mean that I need to tell you how to run your business. It doesn't mean I need to tell you how to define yourself. I don't care. It's really around like, are you good to keep going to solve these challenges?
Absolutely, because as you mentioned, right, the resources, not just something that's on paper. We're talking about financial resources, mentorship, helping put together a pitch deck. All the things that you need as a starter are often lacking for women, or it's difficult to find or
Hmm.
come across someone who you may think is going to be beneficial to you. I'm going to try to be as PC as I can. But that turns out to be not the right path for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I really love the acronym, right? Unapologetic self starter. And I'm going to ask you in just a second to share. There's a little story behind the logo too, which I love, by the way. So all the things, and I'm yes, I'm fangirling over you, and I'm so happy to have you here to feature this. But
Thank you. Can I
actionable,
add something?
yes.
Can I, and when you're thinking about resources and stuff, I think that I know that something that a lot of people do when they enter into like, I'm going to solve this problem for other people is that you enter into the point where you think that the challenge is. And one thing that I really pride myself on and the space really stands on is finding out what the founder, what the business owner, what the leader of whatever organization needs, and then going and building off of that. So even maybe half my members aren't even interested in pitching. They could give two about pitching, but what they need is they need to be put forth is an industry leader, a thought leader. And
Mhm.
so even this month, it's Black History Month, we know, but like there's programming going on. And I think it's so beautiful down here at Downtown Launchpad, Impact Hub and G Beta that are on this floor came up with This Is Us programming and asked the Us space to be involved in it. And I was like, this is amazing because I have members that can do all this stuff. You don't have to go outside of our community to get people to talk about burnout, to get people to talk about how to get your WEB certifications. And we have people that do that. So I really like the fact that within the us space, there's this opportunity for one of our pillars to really be profound, which is professionalism. It only takes one person, and it's usually not you to say how great you are for it to open up another avenue of revenue or longevity for yourself.
I'm glad that you brought up that point, because I get so stuck in the idea of startups and pitches and stuff, because that's kind of a little bit of the world we live in as well,
Sure.
with the different organizations that we're involved in. But I love the fact that you brought that up, that you have members who aren't even interested in this. So that again reiterates and confirms your commitment to an inclusive space for women-led businesses and women-centric organizations. If you don't want to pitch, you're not looking for funding, that's fine. You can still be part of this community. And that is very important. Is finding a community that is not only inspiring, but also supportive of what you're doing and who will put you out there, right? As you said, they were looking for speakers or presenters for This Is Us. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I had meant to bring that up. That was a program for Impact Hub Houston. And here you were putting your members out there saying, hey, I have members who can do this stuff, and just give them a shout and get them on there. And I love that. And that's what your community is all about. One of the things that you had mentioned was having actionable items, right? And having people in your life who are not just yes people, but who may say, yes, but have you thought about this? Or are you kidding? Right? Because we all need that. We don't want to hear it sometimes. It may hurt our feelings or our egos or whatever, but I feel like if we are founders and truly wanting to start something to make an impact, we have to be able to hear all of it, the good, bad, and the ugly. But there are so many programs, I feel like, that say, okay, do this, do that, or this was something that worked for me and you should be able to replicate it. Well, guess what? We're all different, right?
Not how it
As
works.
you mentioned previously. So, can you share a few of the actionable items that you help your members to learn, for lack of a better word, or develop, I should say, that would resonate with anybody, not necessarily if you're in this space, not necessarily if you're a tech starter who's looking to pitch?
I won't say it's me. I feel like we all contribute. Like one of the things when you join is like, what do you want to throw in there? What do you want to throw to the pot? Like, what do you need out of this pot? Like, what's going on? I think that the sole thing that I contribute to the community is the fact that, like, I'm one of those founders. I tell people I have time. I have time for this to work. It needs to work for the people that it's specifically built for. And I have this positive disruptor mentality. So I don't mind going in a room and being like, that shit ain't gonna work. You didn't ask anybody that looks like these people. Why are you talking to me about this and you haven't come with the check? Why are you deciding that, because I move in a lot of spaces and I'm like, this don't look like this in another space I've been in. So what's the challenge here? What do we need to do? What hurdle do you need to get over? Or do you need to exit this conversation and let other people in? And that's why I always talk about this whole welcome to the table, our hashtag, because the table is built for women of color and women central organizations. Y'all throw your bags up there, your kicks, your heel, whatever you want, and then invite who you want to the table to come. Because women bring people with them. Women of color over the years, over the centuries and decades, have proven that society, we bring people with us all the time. So when I think of it and our members and point at things that have happened, we have Lift Collective out of Austin, Texas, and they have women. They have their first inaugural cohort, kind of like, Purpose Amplified inaugural, but their inaugural cohort of women of color that are in the wine industry and helping them learn a sustainable way to scale realistically. And we're one of their partners, and they use our digital and virtual platform to run their entire cohort. And in return, we get wine, and we get all this viticulture, and it's beautiful. And WHI West Houston Institute, we have founders that come from there, and once they graduate, we have a partnership to make them members. We have individual members in marketing and people like Arnisha Sadler, that's what Business Journal Women's 40 Under 40 and doing all these things. So everybody is in a different iteration of whatever they're doing, but everybody contributes in some type of way. And even on our work accountability days that are like every third Wednesday of the month, this year, y'all, we be pivoted. But this year it's every third Wednesdays of the month. And sometimes it's just about the laugh and the recalibration and having somebody look at something really cool that you did and giving you your kudos and telling you also to move that margin to the left and keeping it moving. So that, I think that that's the communal contribution that we're all doing.
I love that. As you mentioned, it's a community of startups or women in any stage of their career, their life, their ventures, whatever that may be. And I love the fact that sometimes the table is just about laughter and wine. how do we get some of this wine you're talking about from this cohort, right? Let's have a wine party.
Oh my gosh. You know
Say,
what? Share Me Wine, that's one of the wine brands. She donated her, I think her 2020 rosé to the Friendsgiving we had with Sesh,
uh-huh.
and we were popping bottles. It was great.
I love it. I love wine too. So let's shift gears just a little bit. We've been talking about the space, and this is the other piece about LaGina that if you guys have figured out right now from our conversation, I don't know where she fits this all in a 24-hour time span. Right? You are a rock star because seriously, this last month I'm looking on my LinkedIn. Every time I turn around, LaGina R. Harris is moderating something. LaGina R. Harris is hosting this here, there. I mean, she is all over the place. And I applaud you, my friend, because that is amazing work. So I wanted to bring up your two other brands, right? Melanin Minds and then Laray Infinity. And how does that tie in with the S space? Or does it? Right? It doesn't have to be, as you mentioned. We are all at different iterations of ourselves, and really, how do you manage it all? Because as a solopreneur myself, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, how do I create all the things that I want to create for the impact that I want to make?
So I guess it goes back to the name of your show, Purpose Amplified, right? So when you look at Laray Infinity, Laray is LaGina and Ray
Mm-hmm.
smashed together because I like the capitalization in the middle of my name, LaGina, and I love my middle name. And then Infinity is like my earth sign. And I was like, this brand, before people started branding themselves, a little bit before, I was like, I'm gonna make my brand so that I can do my art and whatever else I want to do. And I started podcasting. And then somebody's like, "Oh, we need somebody on the mic." I'm like, "Oh, I can do that. It's okay." And I think the thing, I'm a scary person and I always go fearfully forward. People do not believe me, but I am like I'm a calculated risk person. I'm like, I know if I do this, I may fail, but this is going to happen in return. So I always go fearfully forward. And I have my brand, and from my brand, I realized that I'm doing all these things, and that's what the box is, that I weren't check coming in. And then at first I thought it was going to be an event space. And I was like, I don't like doing events, even though I do events. And that's how the US space came about. And Melanin Minds, we do something at the US space called member powered programming. And so a member needs to do something, customer acquisitions, has an idea, wants to pop up some bikes in front of the Ion because they're going to get a physical space, somewhere north in 2023, and needs customers and marketing photos for spin bikes. We're like, cool, member power programming, boom, let's help them, let's plan it, let's put our hands in it, because we know that small business owners, like, we don't have all of it. We're learning, and we may not have even the personnel. So Melanin Minds is our first member powered programming with one of our members out of LA, who is now like one of my closest friends and also my co-founder of Melanin Minds. And Melanin Minds is a mental health, BIPOC mental health, holistic BIPOC mental health, soon to be nonprofit. We're moving into, thank you. The paperwork's in, y'all. So if you take the paperwork accepted, we're in there. But we're moving into our third mental health conference in our second year of a road trip. And it's really just centered around everything as a person of color, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Everything we do is a mental health journey. Even for something like a Black male getting into his car in the morning, he has to strategically plan what that looks like. An Asian person in downtown New York walking late at night has to strategically plan what that looks like. A young woman running in a park. So all of these things. And so our mental health journey doesn't stop with a somebody in a room that you're talking to one-on-one, or a subscription, or somebody being like, you crazy. That's not where it starts. It starts with like our ancestral medicines and doulas and chakras and sound bowls, all the way to our beautiful brothers and sisters that are degree down and can, prescribe us medicine as needed and talk to us in our hardest and darkest times. So we really, use the approach of mental health in this non-scary way, but talk about some real stuff. And it's just been really great. And yeah, those are the things that I do, and that's how I got to where I am.
Are y'all exhausted yet? Everybody tuning in, are y'all exhausted? Like I said, when I first started this show and I called you an amazing all around just woman entrepreneur, I was not kidding. And I love the fact that you guys are you and the S space have helped member, powered programming to become a reality. The Melanin Minds, I love that because when we think about mental health, people just think about burnout or other issues, which are very real. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. I'm not by any means belittling those, but there are other mental health issues that BIPOC and people of color have. Just the examples that you shared, right? Just thinking about walking down the street, am I safe? That really affects your mental health. In
Every
addition,
day.
yeah, in addition to um, the workspace, all the other things that would affect your mental health. So I'm thankful that you have helped your co-founder to found Melanin Minds. And again, I'll drop the link in there for you guys to learn more about the organization. And congratulations! I cannot wait for you guys to officially get the paperwork. So to be that nonprofit. Cassandra says LaGina always gets us pumped up. Yes, you can't be around LaGina and not be pumped up. I'm telling you. And yeah, seriously, it was like this little voice in my head going, "Hey girl, hey girl,
Hey, girl.
hey girl, let's do this."
And you know what? Like, to be clear, I fell a lot, and I know you asked, you're like, how do you do it? Um, my mental health journey is like long, and it's a huge struggle. Like, I've lost very close people over the last like 5 years, and some of that has been turned into purpose amplified, right? And that has turned into something. I need mental health experts. I need a whole mental health team. So why not create a nonprofit where I'm around all these therapists and people that are doing this work all the time? And I say that jovially, but I think the big thing for me is as I experience things, I like look around and I realize other people are experiencing things too. And so it's the understanding that you may be alone, but you're not alone. And you have a unique journey, but your journey crosses with other people. So the stories can collide and align. And there's always somebody out there that is on some journey with you, even if it's the randomest thing. Like I was traveling this weekend and somebody I barely know I connected with at homecoming, and we both lost our debit cards right before traveling. And we were like, I thought I was the only one that did that at almost 40.
You're not alone. I have done that. Trust me. Um, I love that visual that you just shared with us, right? We're all on our own journeys, but our journeys intersect with others at some point. And I truly believe that we are all connected. And that's a powerful piece of how I approach my community, those that I'm connected to, is that how can I help make these connections of the different journeys? And that's also part of my brand as well. And I absolutely love that visual that you just shared with us. So, because we have all stumbled along the way, because none of us are perfect, as much as I've been lauding praises towards you, and I'm thankful that you shared that, right? Like, hey, yeah, I'm doing all these great, cool things, but I've stumbled along the way, and we all have. What's something you would share with like your younger self?
Oh, if I sat with my younger self, there's so much that I would talk about. Like I always say, I would not be my own friend, right? But I would love to be my younger person's men- mentor just because I'm going through it. One, I would randomly tell myself that I'm just I'm amazing, right? I don't think that when you're your younger self, even looking back, we always are like, dang, if I had this knowledge in my 20s, like the world would I would right? Um, but just in general, I think because I'm so scary. Like there's things I've talked myself out of, and as I've gotten older, I've given less shits about what people think or how it may go wrong. So, fearfully forward a little younger would have been what I would have told myself. Like, it's cool. Your family will back you. You need to know how much the servant in you needs to thrive for you to be okay. Um, and I would have gotten into like holistic practices a lot sooner. Those are the things I'd have told myself. Yeah,
No, that's great advice too, right? Just move fearfully forward. Because so many times we as women as well too think, oh, it's got to be perfect before we move forward.
it does not.
It ain't gotta be perfect. We
It
waited for
could be sloppy.
if we waited for things to be perfect, we'd never move forward. One of my really good friends always says, "Perfection is the enemy of done," and I've
Mm,
really live by that now. It's like, okay, again, I'm not going to throw something sloppy out there, but it's never going to be perfect. It's going to get to a point where you can throw it out there and move fearfully forward with it and learn from it, because
yeah.
we've used this word pivot throughout this conversation as well, because you can make pivot. But to me, it's also evolving. And
Ooh,
when I talk to people about their brands and things, I'm like, you're not stuck in this one place. I used to be in banking, and I'm so far removed from banking now because I've pivoted, I've
you
evolved.
were?
Yes, girl, I was. Don't laugh.
Okay, sorry,
Marshall's
straight bit.
Marshall is out there going, "Hey, financial services, man."
No, Myra. Well, you know what? And another thing when you're thinking about the perfection, right? I always tell people because I do, I'm like throw it out there sloppy because this is what I tell people. If you know your work ethic and you know how good you are at something, there has to be a point where you put it out there with the understanding that the quality is already there and the rest of it is crushing to your time. And so if I throw it out and it's sloppy, it's still damn good. It is really good. And that's not an arrogance, that's not anything but just facts, right? Tried and true. Half the time you don't think you're doing something right and you realize either through practice or through somebody telling you or through time spent, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
And when you're not, that's when you have those people that are like, you didn't do a great job. It's okay though. I still love you. And just do better. And it's like, cool. And then you have those same people that are like, how do I do better? And they're like, let's sit down and talk about this. And, that goes back to the us space. I feel comfortable sometimes being out here doing this stuff because I know the women that are in the community and the men in the community and the people in the community. We're like all down for it. We're like, yes, good job. Or, oh, girl, oh, can we do that again? But it's love. So,
Yes, it comes from a place of love and wanting to help that person or that venture, whoever, to improve and level up, right? So, and I think there's absolutely a way to approach it without sounding like you're down on them. But I love that because, like you said, just throw it out there sloppy, and you'll find those mentors and those helpers who want to help you level up and improve what you're doing. So hashtag throw it out there sloppy. I'm going to create a new hashtag. As a marketer, I love hashtags. Right?
oh, yeah. And, like I always say, have the audacity of a white male millennial. And they be throwing it out there sloppy. And somebody picks it up and helps them with it. And it becomes all different kinds of magical things. So have the audacity. And then you take your own swag and you put it on it for whoever you are and keep moving forward. Just keep going forward.
Yep, and have the confidence to put it out there, right? It's not like you said, it's not arrogance. It's just the confidence that okay, you've put in this work and you're putting it out there, and if it's not perfect, it will evolve, or you can pivot. So all of us have evolved and made those pivots. There's no one who's perfect. And just in fact, getting ready for our conversation today, I was like, hey, you're a pro at this. I ain't got to worry. And you said that's because I've fallen a few times. I said, same, same.
Yes. Yes.
Same here. And that's how you learn. So, as we're wrapping up today, is there anything that you would like to share and make sure that the viewers are paying attention to, like events, programming that's coming up? I know you mentioned This Is Us. I'm going to put more information in the comments about it. Anything else that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. The space. We're always keeping our website updated. We're about to put a physically community face front calendar up there. So get ready for that in the next couple weeks. In March, shout out to my U of H PR team that is coming on board in March, and we're going to be doing Women's Month and highlighting a whole bunch of members, and they're going to be doing IG lives. I think they're coming up with a proposal. I'm so excited about that. So there's going to be a lot going on within the community. If you have time on Thursday nights, listen to Stomping Ground with LaGina R. It's my radio show. It's adult radio, non-censored. It's all about celebrating our journeys, our culture, our walk in our skin and our truth. It's local radio, listened to worldwide, allrealradio.com. And just, reach out to somebody that you randomly think about every day. Try to stay as positive as possible. And when you fail at something, don't be so hard on yourself. Just keep moving forward, have a laugh, and try to keep solving the problems of today for tomorrow.
Exactly. Keep moving fearfully forward, right? And I love the fact that your radio show is uncensored. So for those who like those of us like me who like those four-lettered sentence enhancers, this is the show for you. It's an adult radio show. I love it. I love it. So thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far live, right? And anybody who's watching the video replay, please feel free to drop your comments. I encourage you all to connect with LaGina here on LinkedIn and follow her and all of the updates and events and things that are going on with the S space. And I will drop all the information in here as soon as this show is over because I can't multitask. I need help. I need a producer. But I'm really excited that this show, Purpose Amplified, and thank you so much for all of the tie-ins there with our conversation, LaGina. It is going to be a monthly live stream featuring more amazing folks and ventures and organizations like yourself. I'm still in the process of confirming the guests for March, but in April, we have Maria Burgos, who is the founder of Trendy Seconds. We got her in April purposely because guess what we celebrate in April? Earth Day, right? So she is looking to combat conscious or have folks be conscious consumers. And I love her startup, Trendy Seconds. And then in May, we are featuring Christina Mead from an organization that is near and dear to yours and my heart, from Nerdy Girl Success.
NGS.
Yes. So sharing about what NGS is doing, and shout out to NGS. And I'm so excited to announce as well that I've been accepted recently as an advisory board member. Somebody paid off somebody because
girl, I got you.
Thank you. And LaGina is rolling off as a board of director member. And so, again, I'll drop the link for Nerdy Girl Success because we'd love for you all to find out more of the amazing programming that Christina and her team has for high school age young women, and programs I wish that we had when I was in high school. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Amy. She's a great combo with awesome takeaways. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and I'll see you next time or next month for the next episode of Purpose Amplified. Everyone have a great day. Go out there and move fearfully forward to make the impact for your community.
Bye, y'all.